Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named 12 Monkeys, Season 2. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. At the end of Season 1, in order to save Rayleigh's life, Cole used the time machine to send her into the future, altering the course of history and changing both his and Jose's fates. He also managed to rescue Jose. Meanwhile, the army of the 12 Monkeys had Jennifer board a plane to spread the virus across 12 cities worldwide. The 12 Monkeys relentlessly pursued Jose across major cities, but he always managed to evade them. From Olivia, the leader of the army of the 12 Monkeys, he learned that they were so determined to eliminate him because his death was already predestined. According to Olivia, the 12 Monkeys had already located the virus under his guidance, meaning his time loop had come to an end. Only by killing him could the loop be completed. However, what they didn't know was that Jose had reconciled with his old friend, Cole. This time, Jose used himself as bait, while Cole detonated a bomb, destroying their pursuers' vehicles and taking them all out. Olivia was surprised by their reunion, but everything was still unfolding according to the witness's vision. More assassins were dispatched, forcing Cole and Jose to jump off a bridge in desperation. Their unpredictable actions had already begun to diverge from the foretold future. Sensing this shift, Olivia chose to defy the witness's will. She sent agents to protect the virus and ensure Jennifer could release it as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Cole and Jose returned to their underground hideout. Thanks to an injection from Katarina, Jose's wounds could heal quickly, and the serum also helped slow his aging. However, he remained anxious. If the virus was destroyed, his son might cease to exist. Adding to the tension, his past betrayal, having once sided with the army of the 12 Monkeys against Cole, still cast a shadow over their friendship. They also began to wonder how the army kept finding them. Suspecting that a tracker had been implanted in Jose, they decided to seek help to remove it. Afterward, they planned to go their separate ways. After arriving in the future, Rayleigh was treated by Katarina, who saved her life. She also informed Katarina about what had transpired between Cole and Jose. By this time, the underground facility had been taken over by a faction of the future 12 Monkeys, who called themselves the Messengers. They sought to use the time machine, though their true purpose remained unclear. The leader of the scavengers, Deacon, had helped the Messengers take over the bunker, but he didn't fully align with them. He seemed to have a soft spot for Rayleigh. When the Messengers attempted to use the time machine, Deacon subtly warned Katarina against cooperating. Taking the opportunity, Katarina secretly locked the system and reset the sequence. When the machine activated, the messengers who attempted to travel were instantly disintegrated by the time stream, dying in horrific fashion. Katarina, ready to die herself, showed no fear, but the messengers took Rayleigh hostage, forcing her to unlock the machine. Deacon wanted to save Rayleigh but was powerless to intervene. Just as she was about to be executed, Katarina hesitated and the lock was released. The messengers resumed their plan. Among them were women, each carrying a fragment of a corpse. They used time coordinates to transport themselves to various points in history. Seizing the moment, Deacon took Rayleigh away. He assured her he wouldn't harm her. His alliance with the messengers was only temporary. As soon as they left, he intended to reclaim control of the bunker. However, Rayleigh soon noticed that Deacon was physically unwell. His jaundiced complexion, trembling hands, and dazed demeanor suggested he had liver disease and needed medication. In the future, medicine was scarce, but in her past, there was enough to cure him. She struck a deal. If he helped her deal with the messengers, she would return to the past and bring him the medicine. Realizing the messengers were unreliable, Deacon agreed. He secretly approached Rayleigh and taught her how to silently eliminate a guard with a knife. Rayleigh quickly put the lesson into practice, working with Deacon to take down a guard in one swift move. Deacon then led Rayleigh to free his West 7 scavengers, who stormed the bunker. Along the way, they found Whitley, the former bunker security officer. For now, the enemy of their enemy was their friend. The bunker's defenders and the scavengers joined forces. Meanwhile, Cole found an X-12 Monkeys member, someone Jose had once helped defect, and asked him to remove Jose's tracker. However, the man secretly injected Jose with a paralytic agent, temporarily immobilizing him. He planned to deliver Jose back to the 12 Monkeys in exchange for protection from the impending plague. As he prepared to hand Jose over, he cruelly revealed that the virus was about to be unleashed. Jennifer was in her Manhattan apartment, preparing to release the virus during the Chinese Lunar Year of the Monkey. However, her attempt to kidnap Jose was quickly discovered by Cole, who ended it with a bullet to the head. Just as Cole and Jose were about to part ways, Jose revealed that Jennifer planned to release the virus in New York first, with the plague set to break out during the Chinese New Year. Deep down, he couldn't bring himself to let Cole face it all alone. Some friendships were meant to last a lifetime. Meanwhile, Jennifer wandered the streets of New York, searching for the right moment to release the virus. She accidentally stumbled into a speed dating event and, in typical Jennifer fashion, launched into one of her cryptic rants before pulling out the virus. She then drew a gun on her date, demanding that he kill her to save the world, leaving him terrified and wetting himself. The moment she left, he wasted no time calling the police. In the future, Deacon and his crew stormed the transmission chamber, but the doors were locked, making a direct assault impossible. Left with no other option, they decided to overload the energy supply to trigger an explosion. Katerina, noticing the energy spike, caught sight of Rayleigh signaling her from the adjacent room. Thanks to the warning, she managed to take cover just in time, avoiding the blast. The messengers, however, weren't so lucky. The explosion wiped out almost all of them. After the dust settled, Katerina stepped out to assess the situation, only to be attacked by a surviving messenger who had managed to crawl from the wreckage. Just as he was about to kill her, Deacon arrived and shot him in the head. Though 6 messengers had already been sent into the past, the time machine was now severely damaged. Repairing it would take months, possibly even a year. Still, Katerina was determined. She would rebuild it and continue the mission. Back in New York, Cole searched for Jennifer. The streets were alive with the festive spirit of Chinese New Year. Amid the crowd, he spotted Jennifer, who immediately bolted. He chased her to the rooftop of a building where she found herself cornered. She hesitated, torn about releasing the virus, and faced Cole, an old acquaintance for whom she had always had a soft spot. Just as she was about to hand over the virus, the army of the 12 monkeys appeared. They told Cole that the witness had foreseen everything. Though he had altered history, the change was insignificant. Events were meant to return to their destined course. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, Cole had no choice but to hope Jennifer wouldn't release the virus. Then, in a flash, the 12 monkeys agents were swiftly eliminated. The one responsible was none other than Rayleigh, fresh from the year 2044. She had no time for hormone reunions. Her mission was to eliminate Jennifer. Rayleigh had spent 8 months in the future. She had found an old police report mentioning a woman who had claimed to possess a deadly virus. That woman was Jennifer. Killing her would end it all, but Cole argued that Jennifer had been coerced. Her death wouldn't solve anything. Rayleigh, however, was resolute. The rooftop became a tense standoff as they held their guns on each other, neither willing to back down. During her time in the future, Rayleigh had joined Deacon's scavengers, scavenging supplies to repair the time machine. Once it was functional, she was sent back in time. Ironically, their roles had now reversed. Before, Cole had been the one traveling from the future while Rayleigh remained in the past. Now, it was the other way around. As Cole and Rayleigh faced off, Jose arrived. Cole assured Rayleigh that Jose was now on their side. With no other choice, Cole persuaded Jennifer, appealing to her emotions and reasoning with her until she finally surrendered the virus. They wasted no time heading to its storage location. Rayleigh also revealed what she had learned about the messengers, how they had traveled from the future to the past. Eventually, they tracked down the plane carrying the virus. After all their struggles, they had finally found the world-ending pathogen. Without hesitation, they set it ablaze. As the flames consumed the virus, Cole and the others could feel the shift in time, a tangible effect of history being rewritten. Back in the future, Katerina also felt the change. Desperate, she rushed to her room, hoping to find out if her daughter's fate had been altered. But as the dust settled, her daughter's belongings remained untouched, a heartbreaking confirmation that nothing had changed. Meanwhile, Cole could sense time shifting, but something still felt off. He hadn't disappeared. Something wasn't quite right. Rayleigh, unwilling to waste time on uncertainties, pulled out one of Katerina's injections. She insisted that Cole return to the future with her. Before leaving, she intended to eliminate both Jennifer and Jose, but Cole refused. Seeing that he wouldn't budge, she injected Jose instead, sending him through time. Then, without another word, she followed him back to the future. The people in the future were completely baffled. They had intended to bring Cole back, yet somehow they ended up transporting Jose instead. When Rayleigh returned, she informed Katerina that the virus had been destroyed, but oddly, nothing seemed to have changed. Katerina corrected her, explaining that history had indeed been altered. The original outbreak had been delayed and only swept across the globe in 2019. The year 2044 was now an entirely different future. Rayleigh and the others could still remember their previous reality because they had all been injected with Katerina's serum, which protected their minds and bodies from the effects of temporal changes. Even as time shifted around them, reshaping reality, they retained their memories of what had once been. In the original timeline, the plague had started in 2016, but now it began in 2018. Thanks to Rayleigh's presence in this new history, the CDC had been better prepared for the outbreak, saving countless lives and reducing the death toll significantly. However, no one else was aware of these changes. To the rest of the world, reality remained the same. Only they could perceive the differences. Katerina believed that the plague still broke out because the messengers had traveled to the past and released the virus. They needed to extract information from Jose about the messengers' whereabouts. Unfortunately, even Jose had no idea. After Rayleigh disappeared into the future, Jennifer started rambling again. She told Cole that the future had changed, but not in the way he expected. She insisted he needed to find his way home and cryptically told him that his home number was 607. Curious, Cole pulled out Katerina's number and saw that it indeed began with 607. As they walked past a hotel called The Emerson, Jennifer suddenly heard voices in her head and led Cole inside. She claimed he had been there before, though Cole had no memory of it. She attempted to book room 607, but it had already been permanently purchased by someone, so they were given a different room instead. The hotel manager approached them, scrutinizing Cole with a look of familiarity, as if he had seen him before. Once in the room, Cole picked up the phone and called a younger version of Katerina, instructing her to send Rayleigh to retrieve him in August 2044. Katerina, however, dismissed him, arguing that they should no longer interfere across timelines. With that, she abruptly hung up. Meanwhile, in the future, Katerina informed the others that the timeline had changed. Some people who had previously died were now alive in this new reality. She needed more time to fully understand the new timeline. As the group dispersed, one man remained behind. Katerina had no recollection of him because in the previous timeline, he hadn't existed. Surprised, she asked who he was. He smiled knowingly, telling her he was, in fact, her partner in this new timeline. Displaying gentlemanly patience, he packed his things and moved out of her residence upon realizing she had no memory of him. Still, he was confident that, just like before, he would eventually win her heart again. Meanwhile, Jennifer began hearing Olivia's voice in her head, urging her to fulfill her purpose, to spread the virus and destroy the world. Olivia told Jennifer that she was a primary, someone who could perceive changes in time and was intrinsically connected to it. The only reason Jennifer had ever trusted Olivia was because Olivia had promised that completing her mission would silence the voices in her mind. Back at the hotel, the manager made a phone call to verify Cole's identity. Shortly after, he returned and moved Cole to room 607. He explained that his family had run the Emerson Hotel for over 100 years and that room 607 had been purchased in 1944 by Cole himself. The room had been preserved exactly as it was decades ago, untouched by time. On the desk sat an old photograph of Cole posing with someone else. The manager, assuming the man in the picture was his grandfather, saw nothing unusual about it. Jennifer, exploring the room, discovered another photograph, this one showing Cole and Rayleigh together in 1944. Though Cole had no recollection of it, Jennifer realized that at some point in his future, he would live through that moment. Jennifer had always harbored feelings for Cole, but she also knew that Olivia's promises were false. She and Cole would never be together. Overcome with sadness, she resorted to self-harm. Cole intervened, urging her not to let others dictate her fate. He told her to abandon their manipulations and seek out her own purpose in life. Meanwhile, Riley, desperate for answers, confronted Jose with an unexpected move. She brought his son to him, hoping it would force him to reveal the messenger's whereabouts. But Jose truly didn't know. At that moment, the bunker came under attack. Despite the scavengers' protection, a far deadlier force had infiltrated the facility. Katerina was captured. Her captors were the Daughters Legion, the very organization led by Jennifer in the future. Their goal was to take Cole to return to the future. The leader of the Daughters, future Jennifer, was repaying a debt to Cole for helping her in the past. The Daughters handed Katerina a slip of paper with a message for Cole. Later, Rayleigh traveled back to deliver the note. Cole unfolded the paper and read Jennifer's words, saying she had found her purpose. Cole was transported back to the future. As he stepped off the machine, he was stunned to see Deacon in charge of the bunker's defenses. Though history had changed and the outbreak had been delayed, Cole remained pessimistic. Rayleigh had left behind a message, but she was still destined to die, just a few years later than before. Just then, Katerina turned on the radio. To Cole's surprise, music was playing. The outbreak had not been as severe this time, and more survivors were living in quarantine zones. It was proof that their defiance of fate had sparked hope. Cole told Katerina he believed the messengers had gone to 1944. He had also found Rayleigh, but it felt strange having her in the future rather than in the past. Watching how mission-driven and ruthless she had become, Cole couldn't shake the feeling that he was responsible. He had once been the one who would stop at nothing to complete a mission, but now the roles were reversed. Rayleigh had become cold and relentless, while Cole himself had softened. The shift had come when he realized that all the killing he had done had changed nothing. Yet saving just one person who was meant to die had altered the future. He also handed over the photo of the two of them taken in 1944 to Rayleigh. The next time travel is just around the corner. Earlier in the story, 6 of the messengers had used the time machine to travel back in time. Cole and his team had successfully destroyed the virus, causing the future to be rewritten along a new timeline. The outbreak had been postponed, but one man and one woman from the messengers had traveled to 1944, where they murdered a young military couple and assumed their identities to infiltrate a high-profile banquet and carry out an assassination. In 2044, ever since the messengers had used the time machine, the flow of time had been growing unstable. The disturbances had been increasing, and last night's anomaly had reached a peak, as if time itself was beginning to fracture. After seeing the message on the back of the 1944 photograph of Cole and Rayleigh, Jose realized he recognized the name mentioned. Professor Crawford, a molecular biologist, had been assassinated in his university office in 1944. The culprits, a man and a woman, had never been found. Jose recalled that the 12 monkeys had been searching for Crawford's grave, though for what purpose remained unclear. Cole believed he and Rayleigh needed to travel back to that time since they were meant to be there. Katerina agreed. Rayleigh had seen the messengers before, so she could help identify them. According to records, Professor Crawford had been murdered during a military celebration held at the university. This time, Rayleigh insisted they plan carefully. Unlike before, they couldn't just improvise, they would need money. Katerina assured them that wouldn't be a problem. She pulled out a collection of jewelry and valuables. In 2044, these items were worthless, but in 1944, they would be incredibly valuable. Because they were traveling so far back in time, and due to the increasing temporal anomalies, there was a risk that they would arrive at different times, possibly hours or even days apart. Katerina suggested they establish a rendezvous point. Cole chose the Emerson Hotel. He would go first, and Rayleigh would follow. When Cole arrived, he found himself lying on the side of the road. A passerby helped him up, but before he could get his bearings, air raid sirens blared across the city. Within moments, everything was plunged into darkness. Despite the danger, Rayleigh made her way to the Emerson Hotel in search of Cole. However, her clothing stood out, drawing the attention of onlookers. The hotel staff also took notice, telling her that her attire was inappropriate and attempting to throw her out. Just in time, Cole appeared and quickly claimed that Rayleigh was his wife. Slipping the staff a generous tip, he managed to smooth things over. He had arrived 2 months earlier than Rayleigh, sold some of the jewelry, gathered funds, and arranged everything for their mission. The banquet was happening that very night. He had even prepared an appropriate outfit for Rayleigh, using their 1944 photograph as a reference. As Rayleigh was still contemplating how to infiltrate the event, Cole revealed that he had already taken care of it. He had made a substantial donation to the university's Alumni Association, securing them invitations as honored guests. Just then, a hotel staff member approached, informing Cole that he had a phone call. Cole picked up the receiver, but no one spoke. The staff member explained that a man had called for him, sounding urgent. Meanwhile, Rayleigh tore their photograph in half because that picture was meant to be taken later that night, and having 2 identical photos from different moments could create a time paradox. On the night of the banquet, Cole and Rayleigh arrived at the venue and immediately began searching for the messengers. As they entered the grand hall, a member of the Alumni Association greeted them. When Cole introduced Rayleigh, she threw him under the bus, claiming to be his sister instead. She then noticed that Cole had given one of Katerina's necklaces to a board member. Cole brushed it off, saying it was all for the mission. Meanwhile, a photographer was taking pictures of the guests, capturing the very photo of Cole and Rayleigh that they had seen before. In the crowd, Rayleigh spotted the female messenger. She remembered her face clearly from their previous encounters across time. The woman had already found Professor Crawford. Meanwhile, the FBI had stationed agents at the banquet, keeping an eye on suspicious individuals. At the bar, Cole nursed a drink when an agent, noticing his weary expression, assumed he had just returned from the battlefield and pressed him about his service history. Luckily, Rayleigh arrived in time to rescue him from the conversation. After shaking off the agent, Rayleigh led Cole toward the female messenger. By then, she had already lured the professor away, using seduction as her tactic. After isolating him, she knocked him unconscious. She and the male messenger then carried him to his office. The female messenger scattered flower petals around the professor's body, performing the ritualistic preparations for the execution. She then took out the bone relic given to her before the mission and used it to kill him, but something was wrong. The result wasn't what they had expected. They had killed the wrong man. By the time Cole and Rayleigh arrived, the professor was already dead. The sight of his body surrounded by flower petals was eerily familiar. Searching the office, they found a hand-drawn symbol of a monkey, just like the ones they had seen before. Afterward, the FBI discovered Professor Crawford's murder, along with the bodies of the military couple who had been killed earlier by the messengers. Suspicion fell on Cole and Rayleigh. History had recorded that the perpetrators, a man and a woman, were never identified. Now it was clear that the records referred to Cole and Rayleigh. Rayleigh believed their mission had failed, but Cole found something on the back of the framed monkey symbol, an old photograph and a letter. The letter was a psychological evaluation report belonging to the professor's son. It turned out that, like Jennifer, Professor Crawford's son experienced auditory hallucinations. He was currently confined in a mental institution. Cole was certain this was no coincidence. He and Jennifer had both drawn the monkey symbol before, and now the professor's son had done the same. The messengers had killed the wrong person. Their real target was Crawford's son. Like Jennifer, he was something special, and Cole's theory was correct. At that very moment, young Crawford was in the psychiatric hospital, wildly painting monkey symbols all over the walls. By the time Cole and Rayleigh arrived at the hospital, the messengers had already beaten them there. When they reached his room, they found the walls covered in monkey symbols, but young Crawford was gone. A message scrawled on the wall read, "If they can, come catch him." He had foreseen that the 12 monkeys would come for him and had disappeared before they could find him. Cole suddenly recalled something Jennifer had once said, that they were primaries, connected to time itself. Just then, they heard a noise. Rushing into the hallway, they found themselves face to face with the female messenger. Before they could react, the male messenger ambushed them, quickly subduing them. As the messengers dragged them away, young Crawford suddenly appeared, launching a surprise attack. In the ensuing struggle, Rayleigh managed to kill the male messenger. However, the female messenger overpowered Cole and took him hostage. Rayleigh urged young Crawford to run, but he refused. He calmly stated that he would die today. The bone relic the messengers had been carrying, the one they used for their executions, belonged to him. He would be killed using his own remains. He spoke of the Red Forest, saying it would appear that night. Like Jennifer, he was part of something larger. He helped time think, ensuring its continuity. Meanwhile, in the future, a crimson storm began to take shape. Deacon had taken Jose out into the wilderness, planning to execute him in secret. But as they stood among the trees, the leaves and grass slowly began to turn red. The Red Forest was emerging in the future. Back in the past, the female messenger used Cole as leverage, proposing a hostage exchange. As they were halfway through the exchange, young Crawford turned to Cole and said, "The only true failure is giving up." The exchange was nearly complete. Rayleigh had the chance to save young Crawford, but he knew there was no escaping his fate. He willingly walked into the room with the female messenger. She scattered flower petals around him. He smiled, accepting his death. By the time Cole and Rayleigh stormed in, it was too late. The female messenger used his own remains to kill him. The time paradox triggered by the death of a primary anomaly was far more destructive than an ordinary paradox. After it occurred, future monitoring systems detected unprecedented fluctuations in the time stream, worse than anything recorded before. Cole and Rayleigh's sequences were lost, severing their connection to the future. Therefore, they were stranded in the past. Meanwhile, massive red cloud formations began to appear in the future. Anyone who came into contact with them aged rapidly and perished within moments. In the chaos, Jose had managed to seize a gun and was moments away from turning the tables. Yet at the critical moment, he hesitated. Not only did he spare Deacon, but he also helped him escape. Back in the past, the paradox explosion left the room in ruins, with the female messenger's fate uncertain. Young Crawford was dead. When FBI agents arrived at the psychiatric hospital, they found Cole and Rayleigh unconscious, having been caught in the explosion's shockwave. Katerina was unable to pull them back to the future. With no other options, she turned to Jose, tasking him with traveling back to 1944 to find them and bring them home. After all, the bond between him and Cole was something she could count on. And right now, there was no one else she could trust. Katerina made Jose a promise, succeed, and he would be free to leave with his son. Before sending him through, they arranged a signal. Jose would place an encrypted ad in the newspaper. Katerina would locate them based on the ad and retrieve them. She set his destination as the psychiatric hospital, sending him back 2 days before the paradox occurred, but things didn't go as planned. Upon arrival, Jose was involved in a car accident. He was severely injured and spent an entire day unconscious in the hospital. When he woke up, the nurses refused to discharge him, insisting he needed treatment. Desperate, Jose used a hospital phone to call Emerson Hotel, hoping to reach Cole. However, just as the call connected, a nurse caught him and hung up. This was why, back at the hotel, Cole had answered a call with no one on the other end. Later, Jose was sedated and dragged back to his hospital bed, but he wasn't about to sit around waiting for help. Seizing an opportunity, he broke free and escaped. He made his way to the psychiatric hospital, reaching young Crawford's room just as Cole and Rayleigh had left. Moments later, the female messenger arrived. Jose tried to bluff his way out, claiming that the timeline had changed and that he was now on her side. She saw right through his lie and locked him in the room. It wasn't until the messenger triggered the paradox and caused a massive explosion that Jose finally managed to escape. Once free, he realized Cole and Rayleigh had been captured. He trailed them to a roadside motel where agents were interrogating them, trying to uncover the truth behind the murders. Before the agents could get any answers, Jose stormed in, rescuing them. After the escape, Cole was determined to track down the female messenger, but Rayleigh insisted they should return to 2044 first. Unfortunately, one of the agents overheard her. Cole had no choice but to knock him out. The three of them headed to the Emerson Hotel. Jose explained the plan. He would place the encrypted ad in the newspaper, giving Katerina a precise time and location. Once she received the transmission in 2044, she could retrieve them. While Jose and Rayleigh went to place the ad, Cole browsed the newspaper and spotted an article about the female messenger. She had been wounded and was recovering in a hospital. Following the lead, Cole went to the hospital, only to run into the same FBI agent again. This time, the agent was more open-minded. His investigation had uncovered something unusual. Cole had given a school board member a necklace that wouldn't even be released until the following year. Additionally, Jose's medical records showed signs of unnatural aging. The agent began to suspect the impossible. Cole and Jose might truly be from the future. Together, they entered the female messenger's hospital room. There, she revealed the young Crawford had been a primary. By using his death to create a paradox, they could accelerate the collapse of time itself. As Cole and the agent processed this revelation, the messenger took advantage of their momentary distraction, swiftly overpowering them. She could have killed Cole right then and there, but she didn't. The witness had made it clear Cole could not die. Once again, he survived. Meanwhile, in the future, Katerina and her team, including Whitley, examined the bodies of those who had been consumed by the red clouds. She immediately recognized the cause. The paradox event in 1944 had fractured the fabric of time, leading to the anomalies in 2044. Time itself had passed through the victims at an accelerated rate, aging them by centuries in mere moments. Now, time was destabilizing, and the anomaly was spreading. If they couldn't find a way to fix it, the world would be gone within months. Every living thing, every person, would be devoured by time itself. The red time storms were growing more intense, yet Katerina was at a complete loss. Meanwhile, the daughters were keeping a close watch on her from a distance. Determined to uncover the cause of the storm, Katerina made her way to their camp, seeking out Jennifer for answers. Though Jennifer was much older in this timeline, she remained as eccentric as ever. Katerina's first attempt to get information yielded nothing. Later, Jennifer prepared a cup of red herbal tea for her. Upon drinking it, Katerina began to hallucinate. In her vision, Jennifer revealed the truth. Since the dawn of humanity, people had been evolving, and this evolution was tied to time itself. Like humans, time was constantly evolving, and the two were interdependent. Though time was far older than humanity, it relied on humans to help it think. Those who facilitated this process were called primaries. Primaries were like the gears of time, ensuring its continued movement and upholding its structure. If a primary was destroyed, time would begin to collapse. Eventually, past, present, and future would cease to exist. Life and death would merge into an endless loop with no beginning and no end. Humanity would be erased, leaving behind only the memory of tomorrow. Back in 1944, the FBI agent had returned to the Emerson Hotel with Cole and the others, hoping to assist them. Cole assured him that he would have his chance. Keep an eye on the agent. He would be making more appearances in the future. Meanwhile, in the future, Katerina and her team found Jose's newspaper ad from the past. Using it, they pinpointed Cole's location and prepared to bring him back. Cole, wanting to give the agent proof of their time travel, invited him to witness the process. As he watched them vanish one by one, even though he had already accepted they were travelers, he couldn't help but be overwhelmed by the sight. Once back in the future, Cole and Katerina finally uncovered the 12 Monkeys' true objective. They sought to destroy time itself. By using the bones of primaries to kill the primaries themselves, they created massive time paradoxes. Primaries acted as keystones in the structure of time, and if enough of them were destroyed, time would completely collapse. How many more had to be eliminated before the end came was still unknown. If they wanted to prevent the world from becoming a crimson wasteland, a hellish red forest, they had to work together, tracking down the messengers before they could continue their destruction. Meanwhile, after Cole and the others disappeared, the FBI agent went to room 607 of the Emerson Hotel. There, he wrote down information about Professor Crawford on the back of a photo of Cole and Rayleigh, leaving it behind in the room. The female messenger survived until 1971. On her deathbed, she told her son that while her journey was over, his was just beginning. The 12 monkeys would show him the way. He was to trust the witness, for one day he would set everything back on its rightful course. With those words, she passed away. She had scattered flower petals around her before she died. Her son picked one up, placed his hat on his head, and turned to leave. As shown in Season 1, that boy would grow up to become the exact Jasmine killer within the 12 monkeys. Time had already written its script. Now it was simply waiting for fate to follow through. Previously, it was revealed that the messengers had traveled back to 1944, using the bones of a primary to kill the primary, creating a massive paradox that destabilized time. That event triggered the emergence of the red storms in the future. Olivia, having drunk a specially brewed red tea, found herself in a vision, transported to a wooden cabin. Inside, she saw a message from the witness on the wall, 1957 to 1959. This was home. She realized that time had been altered, something that was never supposed to happen. The witness confirmed it. Time was evolving. Olivia wanted to understand all possible futures, but they were no longer unfolding as the witness had foreseen. Instead of answering her questions, the witness instructed her to find Rayleigh and prepare her. Olivia didn't understand. Why was Rayleigh so important? Wouldn't it be better to eliminate her? But the witness refused. Back in the future, Katerina and Cole arrived at the Daughters Legion's camp, where Cole met the older Jennifer. She warned him if the messengers used another primary to create a paradox, time would collapse. She was no longer the frantic, scattered young woman he had known. The voices in her head had gone silent. Only her 2016 self could guide them to the remaining primaries. But there was one critical difference. This time, Cole wouldn't be the one traveling. Rayleigh would. Jennifer's memories were clear. It was Rayleigh who had traveled back to 2016. Cole explained that after he left 2016, Jennifer had remained at the Emerson Hotel. Finding Jennifer would lead Rayleigh to another primary. Though reluctant to face Jennifer again, Rayleigh had no choice. To save the world, she had to go. If anything went wrong, she would send word through the newspaper once more. At this point, the man sent by Deacon to deliver supplies returned, but only one of the 5 made it back. He told Deacon that their previous enemies had found them, and he barely managed to escape with his life. Deacon immediately suspected he had betrayed them. Coldly, he pulled out his gun and shot him, ending his life. Seeing this, Jose realized that Deacon was still as bloodthirsty as ever. Both Jose and Cole felt that Deacon was too dangerous, so they teamed up to trick him out of the bunker and handed him over to his enemies. The ruthless Deacon returned to the bunker covered in blood, showing no intention of following up on what had happened. In 2016, after Cole left, Jennifer began taking medication to cope. She tried to reintegrate into society and made new friends. When Rayleigh found her, Jennifer had already lost her visions and no longer heard the voices. However, one of Jennifer's new friends turned out to be a spy sent by the 12 monkeys to stay close to her. After Rayleigh knocked her down and dragged her out of the Emerson Hotel, they left together. To help Jennifer see visions again, Rayleigh found Jennifer's medical files from the mental hospital. The documents revealed that Jennifer's mental breakdown had stemmed from childhood trauma. They made their way to the vacation house where this trauma had occurred. Inside Jennifer's childhood room, they found drawings she had made as a child. It turned out that Jennifer's mother had been mentally ill, and when she saw the strange drawings, she believed Jennifer was a monster. In a fit of madness, she had planned to drown her daughter in the bathtub, which led to Jennifer's eventual breakdown. Using Jennifer's childhood drawings, they located another primary in the 1970s. However, the Jasmine killer and his team soon arrived. It turned out that the man who had been monitoring Jennifer had informed them of her escape. They quickly deduced that Rayleigh and Jennifer were looking for a primary, and it didn't take long for them to find their trail. The Jasmine killer wasn't shy about informing them that 2 messengers had already traveled to 1975. After capturing Rayleigh and Jennifer, Olivia once again forced Rayleigh to drink the red herbal tea, initiating her baptism and sending her into another red forest in the vision. In the vision, Rayleigh entered the cabin and saw the witness, who looked exactly like her ex-boyfriend, Aaron. After Jennifer had been taken away, she had knocked out her captor and stumbled upon a time chart in the room. It turned out to be a recording of the witness's words, mapping out the timeline of Cole and the others, detailing their fates and destinies. Jennifer found her own name on it and realized her death was predicted for September 23, 2044. Strangely, this revelation didn't seem to affect her much. She managed to distract Olivia, rescuing Rayleigh from her grasp. After wounding Olivia, Jennifer pushed her into an empty swimming pool, leaving her to die. When the Jasmine killer arrived and saw Olivia nearly dead from the fall, he didn't save her. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving her to her fate. Afterward, he drank the red tea and entered the red forest again, making his way to the cabin. This time, he would replace Olivia and directly receive the witness's guidance. Rayleigh revealed to Cole the identity of the primary. It was located in 1975 New York, and Cole began preparing for the next jump. 4 messengers remained unaccounted for, and it was likely that 2 of them were sent to assassinate this particular primary. However, this primary was no ordinary person. He was a serial killer. Between 1974 and 1975, he was responsible for at least 12 murders, dismembering his victims. Only the final female victim could identify him. She was killed in 1975, and they would need to travel back in time to before her death in order to locate the primary and stop the paradox. Jose would travel with Cole on this mission, and Katerina advised them not to interfere with the female victim's fate. They should not change the timeline any further. Upon arriving in 1975, the 2 men went to the restaurant where the victim worked. While Cole wolfed down his food looking like someone who hadn't eaten properly in years, Jose maintained a more composed demeanor. He even flirted briefly with the victim. When they saw that she had a young child, both of them were moved by pity. They followed her through the evening, and just as they discovered the killer attempting to murder her, they intervened, preventing the crime and altering the course of history once again. At that moment, one of the messengers arrived and pursued the killer's car. After rescuing the woman, they brought her back to the hotel and revealed the truth to her. To track down the killer as quickly as possible, Cole and Jose posed as reporters and leaked his information to the police. When the police moved in to capture him, the 2 arrived at the scene just as the killer took hostages inside a store. Without hesitation, Cole charged in alone. Recognizing Cole immediately, the killer let the hostages go. He had foreseen Cole's arrival and told him that he knew the whereabouts of the witness. However, before he could say much more, the police stormed in and arrested him. Determined to find the witness, Cole had no choice but to break him out by taking the police hostage. Meanwhile, when Jose returned to the hotel, he discovered that the victim had been kidnapped. Her captor was the same messenger who had been chasing the car earlier. Using a hotel notepad Cole had left behind by accident, the messenger had tracked them down. Jose engaged in a brutal fight with him and ultimately took him out. Cole, on the other hand, followed the killer back to his hideout, where he came face to face with the person the killer had captured, the so-called witness. However, the truth soon came out. The reason the final female victim was ever identified was because the killer had deliberately left clues, hoping Cole would find him and eliminate the witness for him. But the so-called witness the killer had captured was merely one of the messengers. Upon learning the truth, the killer was unable to accept it. By the time Jose arrived, the police had also caught up, unknowingly triggering the bombs the killer had rigged in advance. By then, the killer had already descended into madness and attempted to kill Cole. After he was subdued, he believed Cole wouldn't dare to kill him, but Cole simply stated that he was only keeping him alive to prevent a paradox. Then, without hesitation, he shot him dead. After Cole and Jose returned to the future, the red storm subsided slightly, an indication that stopping the paradox had temporarily stabilized the timeline. Meanwhile, after Jennifer rescued Rayleigh, Rayleigh found herself back at the Emerson Hotel, where she unexpectedly encountered her ex-boyfriend, Aaron. He had survived the fire but was severely disfigured. He claimed that the 12 monkeys had saved him, telling her that the only way to conquer death was to destroy time and that the Red Forest was the key. It was then that Rayleigh realized he wasn't Aaron at all. He was the witness. In an instant, his appearance shifted into that of Cole. The truth hit her. He wasn't physically there. He only existed in her mind. The baptism had allowed the witness to invade her consciousness, and now it seemed as if her own mind was being taken over by him. When Rayleigh returned to the future, her mental state deteriorated. She was constantly disoriented, haunted by hallucinations of the witness. Meanwhile, Katerina analyzed the temporal data and found evidence of another traveler's presence at the Emerson Hotel in 2016. His sequence signature was still inside the time machine, which was now experiencing an energy overload. The machine began randomly emitting bursts of temporal radiation and couldn't be shut down. Upon investigation, they discovered that the system was failing. Its protective mechanisms were down, and the core component responsible for stabilizing the time stream had been burned out. Someone had deliberately placed it in reverse, disrupting the time flow and causing people to be transported incorrectly. Some individuals had been inadvertently displaced, while others had been brought into the bunker, twisted and mutated by time distortions. One of them, his body horrifically warped, came seeking revenge on Katerina. Fortunately, Cole arrived just in time to put him down. It turned out that the man had been an early volunteer for Katerina's time travel experiments, only to be unexpectedly transported back now. Someone was sabotaging the time machine from the shadows, attempting to trigger a complete time collapse. Rayleigh became convinced that the witness was inside the bunker. The anomaly they had detected was his. The situation inside the bunker was far worse than they had imagined. Past and future had begun overlapping, causing chaotic time displacements. Numerous lost travelers had been pulled into the bunker, including an entire military unit from 1959. Believing the bunker had been invaded, they engaged in an all-out battle with the people of the future. Cole and Jose decided to shut down the energy core, only to discover that Rayleigh had kidnapped Jose's son and was heading toward the energy chamber. She seemed possessed, leading the boy toward the wooden cabin from her visions. At that moment, they finally understood. The other traveler they had detected was inside Rayleigh's mind. Her own consciousness was trapped in the cabin, unable to escape. Meanwhile, repairing the time machine proved to be just as challenging. The machine's circulatory system was damaged. Replacing the burned-out component meant direct exposure to time radiation. In a selfless act, Katerina's partner tricked her by distracting her and then secretly installed the replacement himself. This stopped the radiation bursts and prevented the timeline from unraveling further. But in doing so, he was exposed to the radiation, disintegrating into ash before her eyes. In his final moments, he proved his love for Katerina in the most profound way, by sacrificing himself to save her. With the time machine restored, the temporal distortions were reversed. Cole made his way to the energy chamber, where he discovered that the witness was the one controlling Rayleigh's consciousness. He tried to awaken her, and as he called out to her, Rayleigh found herself drawn to the scene outside the cabin window. Beyond it stood a towering city, its name unmistakable, Titan. The witness was standing before the city. In a desperate attempt to break Rayleigh free, Cole ordered Jose to shoot him. Seeing Cole wounded jolted Rayleigh back to reality. Her consciousness finally left the cabin and returned to her body. Jose successfully shut down the energy core, but as he did, a radiation backlash erupted, pulling his son into an unknown time and space. Afterward, Katerina explained to Rayleigh that the anomaly they had detected wasn't from a time traveler, it was from the witness's consciousness. Once the witness had gained control of Rayleigh's mind, she had unknowingly sabotaged the time machine. To prevent this from happening again, Katerina had prepared a new serum to cleanse whatever remained of the witness's influence in Rayleigh's bloodstream, ensuring the witness could never control her again. Rayleigh was consumed with guilt, believing she had caused irreparable harm, but Katerina insisted that it was her own fault. She already had a solution in mind. Meanwhile, Jose's son had been transported to an unfamiliar time. As he stood lost and bewildered, red leaves swirled around him. Just then, a mysterious figure appeared and took him away. Earlier, the witness had seized control of Rayleigh's mind, sabotaged the time machine, and unleashed a chaotic time distortion that led to devastating casualties in the bunker. Jose's son had also been swept into an unknown timeline. In the wake of this disaster, Katerina was utterly broken. She blamed herself, believing she was the root cause of everything. Determined to erase the damage time travel had caused, she devised a radical plan. She sent Rayleigh to 2020, to the heart of the Vanguard Zone, with a mission to kill Katerina's past self. At that point in time, Katerina had just lost her daughter, Hannah. Her grief had driven her to attempt rewriting history, which ultimately allowed the messengers to exploit the time machine, setting the stage for the impending collapse of time itself. If her past self died before initiating time travel, then everything, the machine, the paradoxes, the destruction, would never have happened. But Cole refused to let this happen, unwilling to let Katerina carry out such an extreme solution. When Rayleigh arrived in 2020, she was transported to a riverbank near the Vanguard Zone. As soon as she materialized, the sound of gunfire echoed through the air. The Vanguard Zone was in the midst of a funeral ceremony. Making her way to the Vanguard Zone's entrance, Rayleigh was stopped by the guards. However, she managed to slip inside by posing as a CDC doctor. In this timeline, Rayleigh had been presumed dead since 2017, and with the CDC no longer in existence, no one questioned her identity. At this time, the Vanguard Zone had become a refuge, rounding up survivors and holding them in containment. Before long, Rayleigh encountered the Colonel. At this point in time, he was still alive, not yet killed by Katerina. She requested to see Katerina, but the Colonel informed her that the situation was dire. Security had been tightened, and medical treatment for outsiders had been suspended. Just then, a female officer arrived with urgent news. Katerina's daughter had just passed away. Upon hearing this, the Colonel rushed to comfort Katerina using words but not muscles. Seizing the opportunity, Rayleigh slipped into the infirmary. The moment the Colonel left, she took her shot, killing Katerina. No sooner had she pulled the trigger than she found herself back at the exact spot where she had first arrived in 2020. But this time, Cole was there too. He tried to stop her, urging her not to go through with it, but Rayleigh insisted it was too late. Katerina was already dead. Then, another round of gunfire rang out. Cole calmly told her that he had just been transported back to the same moment she first arrived, which meant she hadn't killed Katerina yet. Something was off. Realizing that time was looping strangely, Rayleigh reluctantly agreed to return with him to the Vanguard Zone. But when they reached the entrance, the exact same sequence of events played out. The guards stopped them, saying the same words as before. This time, however, the female officer stepped forward to verify their identities. Rayleigh's fingerprints checked out, but Cole's cover was blown. His fingerprints matched those of an 11-year-old boy named Cole from that timeline. With their deception exposed, the guards rounded them up and threw them in with the other detained survivors. Rayleigh wanted to see Katerina, but the female officer told her that Katerina's daughter was gravely ill and couldn't meet with her. While they were still in custody, they encountered Jennifer. By now, Jennifer had likely already met their future selves and began testing which point in time they came from. To Rayleigh's surprise, Jennifer remembered that Rayleigh had killed Katerina in the past. She told Rayleigh that time had reset itself, looping back to the same day. Once Rayleigh realized she had killed Katerina, time would automatically reset and return to the moment when she first arrived, before she had taken action. Before she could explain further, they were taken away and once again met with the Colonel. But this time, he suspected Rayleigh was an imposter. He had discovered that the Rayleigh from that time had already died at the CDC. Rayleigh and Cole didn't bother to explain. They just let the Colonel see for himself what it meant to have the protagonist's aura. However, Rayleigh let her guard down. The female officer shot her from behind, wounding her severely. Unable to continue, Cole had no choice but to go on alone to assassinate Katerina. When he arrived, Katerina recognized him, as she had met him before. With no other option, Cole was forced to shoot her. After killing Katerina, they were once again transported back to the moment when they first arrived that day. This time, Rayleigh decided to go her own way. Cole warned her that it wouldn't be that simple, that he had killed Katerina to save her, to allow everything to start over. They needed to figure out why this was happening. Rayleigh ignored his advice and ran off to kill Katerina alone. After meeting with the Colonel again, she vanished before he could finish speaking, heading straight for Katerina's location. Once Cole entered, he was locked up again. Jennifer appeared and said this was the third time. Cole was desperate to break the cycle, but Jennifer told him that perhaps time itself didn't want them to kill Katerina. This time, Rayleigh disguised herself as a nurse and approached Katerina. Instead of rushing to kill her, she asked about Katerina's daughter, Hannah's condition. From Katerina's words, Rayleigh learned that Hannah, like Katerina, was an immune survivor, but for some reason, she had still contracted the virus. While Rayleigh examined Hannah's medical records, the Colonel burst in and caught her. With no choice, Rayleigh shot Katerina again, and once more time reset. This time, both their bodies were showing signs of strain, with Cole starting to cough up blood. Yet Rayleigh remained stubborn, insisting on continuing. This time, after meeting the Colonel, Rayleigh asked to see the recent virus data. As before, Jennifer came to the holding cell where Cole was kept. After looking over the data, Rayleigh found Katerina again. She realized that Hannah's fever symptoms didn't match those of typical virus infections and concluded that the true cause of her illness wasn't the virus. It was likely bacterial meningitis, and she needed antibiotics to bring down her fever. Rayleigh was right. Hannah's condition began to improve. However, Rayleigh and Cole's bodies couldn't handle the stress, and once again, time reset, forcing them to endure the consequences of the time loop. Rayleigh told Cole that Hannah was immune and hadn't been infected by the virus. She was dying because she hadn't received proper treatment. She was still destined to die today. Cole explained that it seemed time wasn't allowing them to kill Katerina or save Hannah. The only way to end this loop was to find another solution. They talked long into the night, and Cole revealed that he no longer cared about the world's fate. He only cared about Rayleigh. Just as Cole's heartfelt confession ended, time reset again, and both of their bodies were nearing their breaking point. When Cole was locked up once more, Jennifer approached him. She asked why they hadn't shown up today, looking exhausted from the torment of the time loop. Her face was haggard. She reminded Cole of something he had to do, something that felt like he had done nothing. He couldn't change the past, but he needed to break free from the loop. Her words snapped him out of his daze. He found the colonel and spun a lie, claiming that Katerina had ordered Jennifer and her team to bring the virus in, intending to kill all those who were not immune. Rayleigh's identity was a fake as well, and furious, the colonel ordered them all to be executed. At this point, Rayleigh took Cole's hand, and together they faced death. Time reset once more. Rayleigh was confused by Cole's actions, but he reassured her that he had found a way out. Together, they finally broke the time loop and traveled back to the future. After they were transported back, Katerina was still in a bad mood, believing their mission had failed. They explained that they had killed her multiple times, but each time, time would reset, returning to the day they first traveled back. Time needed her to set everything right and stop the 12 monkeys from destroying the world. However, Katerina dismissed this as nonsense, arguing that their timeline had simply been intercepted by a never-ending looping program which caused the repetition of the same day. Reluctantly, they took her to the Daughter Legion's camp, where Jennifer was waiting for them. Cole finally revealed the truth to Katerina about how to break the time loop. They couldn't change Katerina's timeline, so they couldn't kill her in the past. Her daughter, like Katerina, was an immune survivor and had died from bacterial meningitis. The grief of losing her daughter led Katerina to initiate the time travel program. Time wouldn't allow anyone to alter her past. She had to create time travel to complete her mission. She needed to witness her daughter's death firsthand to truly believe that she was gone. Afterward, they treated Hannah, saving her life, and handed her over to Jennifer to raise. Hannah had followed Jennifer and became a member of the Daughter Legion. Katerina's sole desire had been to change history and bring her daughter back to life. Cole and the others altered the timeline, allowing Hannah to be revived, and Katerina was finally reunited with her daughter. The two embraced, crying in each other's arms, an emotional moment that moved everyone. Finally, they were able to return the things her daughter had left behind to Katerina. However, Jose's son was still missing, and he blamed Rayleigh for everything. She told him that the witness's location was called Titan, and hoped to join him in finding Titan to kill the witness. Earlier in the story, it was revealed that Katerina, in an effort to erase the impact of time travel, had sent Rayleigh back to 2020 to kill herself. Rayleigh and Cole had become trapped in an infinite time loop, but in the end, they managed to change the timeline, bringing Katerina's daughter, Hannah, back to life. In 2016, Jennifer had returned to the psychiatric hospital, releasing all the patients. The patients, led by Jennifer, killed the doctors who had been overseeing them, hung their bodies as a warning, and notified the Jasmine Killer, showing him their defiance. This led to the formation of the organization named Hyenas to combat the 12 monkeys. In the future, in 2044, a red time storm had engulfed a human survivor base, causing a chaotic space-time anomaly to sweep through the entire camp. The time storm was rapidly approaching the bunker. Analysis had shown that another time paradox had occurred between 1951 and 1973. To prevent this paradox, they need to save the final primary. Jose found Cole and told him about Titan and the witness, expressing his determination to find the witness and make them pay. Cole also sought out future Jennifer to ask about the final primary's location. Jennifer informed him that the Jasmine Killer now led the 12 monkeys and knew the location of the primary. If they traveled back to 2016, they could find him. She also warned Cole that searching for Titan would only lead to death and urged him not to be misled by Jose and the others. Only by finding the primary could they stop the paradox and save the world. Cole traveled to 2016, where he found Jennifer and her organization. With their help, he located the Jasmine Killer. They also found the virus creator who had been hiding ever since Rayleigh saved him. He had been working on a vaccine serum for the virus, but the virus had become a smaller concern compared to saving time. The Jasmine Killer had also been looking for the virus creator. Cole decided to use him as bait to lure out the Jasmine Killer, spreading a rumor that a press conference would be held to reveal the truth about the virus. When the Jasmine Killer arrived, despite evading the people who were watching him, he was caught by Cole. After some intense interrogation, Cole learned that the final primary's location was in 1957, and the paradox from that time was extremely powerful, capable of completely destroying the structure of time. The press conference was underway, and the truth about the virus was about to be revealed. However, the Jasmine Killer had already planted bombs and killed everyone at the conference. Everything had been part of his plan. He had arranged for people to rescue him and ensure his escape. Meanwhile, Jose and Rayleigh began their search for Titan. They accidentally learned from Hannah the location of the Keeper, who specialized in collecting information. When they found the Keeper, they discovered that he was a tech genius. After the world collapsed, he had gathered information from government agencies and major corporations. After a heartfelt lie detector test, the Keeper provided them with the information they needed. In one of the decrypted CIA reports, there was a mention of Titan, the only record of Titan, and it stated that it was linked to a doctor from East Germany in 1961. After suffering the blow of losing her subordinates in the bombing, Jennifer once again fell into a negative mood. Cole once again tried to console her using words but not muscles, assuring her that they would meet again soon before being sent away. His intention was to meet the future version of her, but just as this was about to happen, someone knocked on the door of room 607. When Jennifer opened the door, she was surprised to find Cole actually standing at the doorstep. Katarina's relationship with her daughter was not without its challenges. After being separated for so long, there was a sense of awkwardness and distance between them. Hannah became curious about her father and did not entirely approve of his actions in using the time machine to alter history in order to save her. In an effort to mend their relationship, Katarina showed her a photo of herself with her ex-husband, helping Hannah understand what her father looked like. Previously, Katarina's ex-husband helped Jose build the time machine. Afterward, he lived in obscurity. The Jasmine Killer found him and asked him to build the Titan, which means he became the creator of Titan. The time storm was about to engulf the bunker in 5 days, with the critical event being the paradox that occurred in 1957. That year, an explosion at a factory in New York caused a massive space-time paradox, as indicated by the space-time signals. While everyone was planning to go back to 1957 to prevent the paradox, Jose and Rayleigh suggested following the CIA report to find the doctor, who had been captured as a war criminal in East Germany in 1961. Though the report was incomplete, it mentioned Titan and the witness. Cole convinced Jose and the others to first travel to 1957 to stop the paradox and then return to 1961 to find the witness. Before they were sent through time, Deacon confessed his feelings to Rayleigh. He explained that he had developed hormone feelings for her when he was young, during the outbreak of an epidemic. He would always see Rayleigh on TV, and her gaze comforted his young soul. Rayleigh, however, rejected him without hesitation. After Cole and Jose were transported, they found themselves not in 1957, but in 1961. It turned out that Jose and the others had pretended to agree to Cole's plan of traveling to 1957 first, but behind his back, they had gone to find Katarina's assistant, altering the time coordinates. Jose, who had lost his son during the epidemic, believed that the best way to save everyone, including his son, was to eliminate the witness. In his attempt, he changed the coordinates, sending everyone to 1961. By this time, Jose and Rayleigh had disappeared. Cole thought of an old friend and decided to ask for his help, the agent who had assisted them in 1944. When they met, Cole looked the same as before, but the agent had grown gray hair at his temples. He had been tracking the female messenger who had traveled from 1944 but lost her in Europe. From him, Cole learned that Jose and Rayleigh had gone to East Germany, where they were searching for the doctor. The Israeli Mossad was also after him, and the Berlin Wall was being constructed at the time. They needed to find him as soon as possible. Jose and Rayleigh reached a theater in East Germany in search of the doctor, but the Mossad agents were already tailing him. Rayleigh distracted the agents while Jose tried to take the doctor out of the theater, but they were blocked by Mossad agents. With no choice, Jose and Rayleigh surrendered, claiming they only wanted to ask the doctor about the location of Titan and that the doctor could do whatever he wished with them afterward. However, the Mossad agents did not believe them, and while they were interrogating them, Cole arrived just in time to rescue them from danger. Cole informed Jose that he had seen the complete CIA report, and the reason the report didn't mention Titan was because the so-called clues they had provided were actually fabricated by themselves. Rayleigh then found the doctor, and in response to Cole's doubts, she discovered a necklace around the doctor's neck. The necklace had been owned by both the Jasmine Killer and Jose. It bore the mark of the witness. The doctor explained that when he was a student, he had met a man who claimed to have witnessed the future. The man urged him to continue his research on eugenics and provided insights into his work, warning him of future events. The doctor had since altered the genetic markers of the immune individuals, creating the messengers, whose samples were currently in his lab in West Berlin. The group decided to go to the lab and destroy the samples, hoping to eliminate the messengers in the cradle and thus prevent the paradox from occurring. As the group crossed the construction site of the Berlin Wall, they were spotted, and the agent was gunned down while trying to cover for them. When they arrived at the lab, they discovered that the so-called messenger messenger sample was actually a young girl confined in a small box-like room. The doctor, who turned out to be the girl's father, showed them the time chart of the witness's words, which Jennifer had seen before. This was the first time Cole and the others had seen it. Just then, someone came to take the girl. Leading them was the female messenger from 1944, who was the girl's mother. After a shootout, the doctor was shot and near death, and the girl was taken. The group considered making a last-ditch effort to save her, but Jose was only focused on the time chart. As the time for their return was approaching, they were each transported back. Just before he was sent back, Jose tore off the corner of the time chart that contained information about Titan. After the girl was taken, the female messenger raised her, handing her the necklace and telling her that the witness would always be with her. The girl, however, believed the female messenger had deceived her, and she felt her mission in the time loop was over. She placed the necklace at her mother's grave, deciding that her future would be hers to choose. When Cole and the others traveled back to the future, they found that because of Jose and Rayleigh's stubbornness, there was little time left. Although Jose had brought back a way to find Titan, he and Rayleigh were both imprisoned. Outside the bunker, lightning crackled as the red storm approached. Hours later, the bunker was about to be swallowed by the storm. Only Cole's trip to 1957 to stop the time paradox could prevent the storm. After Jose and the others were imprisoned, those who opposed Katerina freed them and decided to launch an attack on the bunker. They had located Titan, but crossing the continent to reach it was too dangerous. By using the time machine, they could instantly transport to Titan. The attack on the bunker began, and a fierce battle erupted inside. At a critical moment, Whitley betrayed them, abandoning his post and handing over the time machine. When Cole arrived, outnumbered and unable to stop them, he turned to Jennifer for help. Jennifer, who had known Cole would come, led the Daughters Legion to the bunker. With Deacon's help, they successfully took control of the bunker. After reclaiming the time machine, Deacon and Jose clashed, and Deacon accidentally shot Jennifer. Seeing Jennifer wounded, Hannah rushed over and slashed Deacon's face. However, Jennifer was already on the brink of death, and the Daughters Legion was about to spiral into chaos. Jennifer had already seen her death date on the witness's time chart and knew her end was near. To prevent the Daughters Legion from going berserk and massacring everyone in the bunker, Jennifer urged Cole to find another version of herself. Cole traveled to 2016. When he left Emerson Hotel, Jennifer had opened the door to find him arriving again. With no time to explain, Cole brought the 2016 version of Jennifer back to 2044. While she was still excited about the time travel, the Daughters Legion had already fallen to their knees in front of her. Cole showed her the future version of herself, who knew her time loop would end today. The future Jennifer's loop had reached a turning point. The earlier Jennifer had not taken the Daughters Legion to Titan, but she now had the chance to make a new choice. After entrusting the Daughters Legion to the future Jennifer, she quietly passed away. Afterward, Jennifer began assigning tasks. The time machine could only travel to one place, to send Cole back to 1957 to prevent the time paradox, while Jose and the others would cross the storm and travel across the continent to find Titan. She would lead the Daughters Legion and join them in hunting down the witness. Katerina told Cole that she would send him to early 1957, giving him a year to prepare. However, if he failed, there would be no time machine to bring him back. She thanked Cole for trusting her all this time. With no hesitation, Cole set out on his journey once more. Meanwhile, Jose's group set off toward Titan in full force. Rayleigh, however, was still worried about Cole and turned back to the bunker. Katerina understood her intentions and, after injecting her with the serum, sent her to the time machine. Soon after, the bunker was engulfed by the red storm, consuming everything in its path. While trying to escape, Hannah was separated from her by the red cloud. After telling her to run, Katerina was surrounded by the red cloud and stood alone, guarding the time machine, awaiting the final moments. Cole traveled back to 1957 and arrived at the Emerson Hotel, where he found Rayleigh had been waiting for him. After they both arrived in 1957, they infiltrated the factory where the paradox was about to happen, hoping to identify the primary. They investigated every person at the factory, and after experiencing various suspicious events, they still couldn't find the primary. With only 2 days left before the paradox, they were still clueless, and the tension began to mount. While Cole was at the bar trying to unwind, he ran into a colleague from the factory whose wife was suffering from a serious illness and enduring great pain. Cole sympathized with him, and after a brief conversation, they both parted ways. When Cole returned to the hotel, Rayleigh told him that the factory had recently hired a few temporary workers to repair the drainage system, and one of them was likely the primary. Jose's journey to find Titan was also grueling, as his group encountered other armed forces near Titan, resulting in heavy casualties. The Daughters Legion began to notice the stark differences between the younger Jennifer and the future version of her, starting to question Jennifer's decisions. After scouting the surrounding area, Hannah could not find Titan, and a conflict broke out between the Daughters Legion and Jose. Jennifer decided to leave with the Daughters Legion, but Hannah chose to stay with Jose and his group. Cole began investigating the temporary workers and found a suspicious person. Rayleigh went through his records and discovered a hand-drawn monkey symbol in his file. The next day, when Cole confronted the temporary worker, intending to deal with him, the man confessed that someone had paid him to act scared of Cole. The monkey drawing was also made by someone else. Realizing he had targeted the wrong person, Cole was interrupted when a woman appeared at the factory, holding a gun in one hand and a box in the other. When Rayleigh confronted her, she learned that the woman's husband was the same colleague Cole had met at the bar. The man pushed Rayleigh aside and revealed himself to be the messenger. His sick wife was the primary, and the box contained her bones. He had been ordered to kill the primary and create the paradox, but he had fallen in love with her and never went through with it. He no longer believed in the witness, and it was his wife who was willing to fulfill his mission, agreeing to go with him into the Red Forest. When Cole arrived, he couldn't stop him from using the bones to kill his wife. Although he shot the witness, he could only watch as the paradox was created. The paradox triggered a massive explosion at the factory, and Rayleigh fell unconscious. Cole was filled with guilt, only hoping that Rayleigh would wake up and forget him, starting a new life. While unconscious, Rayleigh found herself once again in the Red Forest. She woke up 6 months later, only to discover that Cole had disappeared. 6 months later, Rayleigh, now working as a nurse in a hospital, used her advanced medical knowledge to guide doctors in their treatment. She finally found Cole's address, and when she drove there, she discovered a wooden house that looked exactly like the one she had seen in the Red Forest vision. Nearby, someone was sawing wood. It was Cole, who had accidentally cut his hand and blood dripped onto the grass. Surprised to see Cole there, Rayleigh asked why he was in this place. Cole explained that he had driven by and saw the house for sale, so he bought it and was planning to fix it up. Their mission had failed, and it was time to leave behind the turmoil of the future. There was no pandemic here, no Red Forest, just the desire to live a peaceful life with Rayleigh. As the rain began to fall, they went inside the house where Rayleigh helped clean Cole's wound. Most of the blood had already been washed away. After saying this, Rayleigh realized the words felt familiar, as she had heard them in the Red Forest vision. As she studied the house's furnishings, she noticed the pendulum clock, which also appeared in her vision. She had been here before. Rayleigh realized that this wasn't the end, and in 2018 she would still die at the CDC. Cole urged her to let go of everything and enjoy the present. After all they had been through, they finally understood each other's feelings and shared a passionate tongue massage, becoming a couple. Jose's group finally located Titan, a massive city that could only be Titan. As they entered Titan, they noticed a strange atmosphere. They arrived at a pillar marked with the witness's symbol, where they were greeted by masked figures dressed in gray robes. Before they could react, the masked figures surrounded them. It turned out to be a trap, and the masked figures subdued them one by one, executing them all. Cole and Rayleigh settled into a peaceful life in the cabin, and before long, Christmas arrived. They exchanged Christmas gifts, enjoying the happiness of the season. However, Rayleigh had a special gift for Cole. When he opened it, he learned that Rayleigh was pregnant. He was going to be a father. Overcome with joy and emotions, Cole hugged her tightly, and they basked in their happiness. One day, while Cole was out shopping, he noticed time suddenly stopped. Everyone froze in place, and only he was able to move freely. A woman approached him and said that it wasn't over yet, before disappearing. Time resumed its normal flow shortly after. That night, as Cole lay in bed, he found himself lost in thought, remembering past events. The next day, while driving, Cole noticed time freeze again. Everyone stood still, and when he got out of the car to investigate, he found himself in a mental hospital. After time returned to normal, Cole went into the hospital and found the woman. It turned out she was also the primary. She muttered cryptically and told Cole that time was collapsing and the Red Forest had appeared there. She instructed him to go to the pine forest, where he would understand everything. Cole drove deep into the forest and found a tree with red leaves. The time storm had arrived and the Red Forest reappeared. He found the woman again, who told him there was a new way to travel through time. If he drank the red tea made from the red leaves, his consciousness could visit any moment in time he had experienced before. To stop the paradox in 1957 and save everyone, he would need to go back. But she warned him that everything after that would no longer exist. The life he had with Rayleigh, their child, and the happiness he had now would all vanish. She also told him not to go to Titan to save Jose, as doing so would cause the cycle to continue and his loved ones would disappear. When Cole returned home, he wanted to tell Rayleigh everything. But seeing her so excited about the baby, he hesitated, not having the heart to break her dream. Torn, he decided to stop the paradox. He wrote 1957 to 1959, "This was home" on the wall, and then drank the red tea. His consciousness began to travel through time. After visiting several past moments, he finally arrived in the body of 1957. This time, before the messenger arrived, he managed to capture his wife. Having gone through all of this, the messenger's love for his wife was something Cole now understood. He said goodbye to Rayleigh, then shot the messenger dead. Afterward, Cole and Rayleigh were sent back to the future. When Katerina saw them return, she was confused. She couldn't remember clearly what had happened before, only that the time storm had swallowed the bunker, and everything around her was full of anomalies. As the red storm began to subside, time took months to self-repair. The red forest vanished, and during this period, the bunker was constantly under attack. Katerina had learned how to protect it, defeating all the invaders and even adopted a dog. Cole, however, still felt sad. The happy times he had with Rayleigh never happened for her, and for him, they felt like a distant memory. Then, Cole remembered that Jose's family would die at Titan, and he decided to travel there to stop it. This time, Katerina also joined them. She set the time machine to automatic mode so they would be returned in 12 hours. In order to save her daughter, Katerina was willing to risk everything. They were transported to the woods outside Titan, where they ran into the Daughters Legion, who had been separated from Jose's group. Jose's group had already entered Titan, and to save them, they needed the help of the Daughters Legion. Jose's group had already made it into Titan and walked into a trap. Just when they were about to be wiped out, reinforcements arrived, rescuing them. The battle began, and both sides were now prepared, giving them a real chance to fight back. After a fierce battle, they captured several of the masked figures. Jose tried to get information on the whereabouts of the witness from the prisoners, but they all gave the same answer: the witness is safe. Despite Jose's brutal tactics, he couldn't get any answers. Katerina realized that the technology used in Titan was invented by her ex-husband, and it was likely serving another machine. So the witness probably had their own time machine. The group decided to split up and search for the witness. Rayleigh suddenly remembered the Christmas gift Cole had given her. All the memories of their time together came rushing back. As the two of them reminisced about those happy moments, they heard loud bangs coming from within Titan, as though some kind of signal was being sent. At that moment, Katerina discovered Titan's secret and urged everyone to evacuate quickly. When Hannah had investigated earlier, she hadn't found Titan because it hadn't arrived yet. The witness didn't just have his own time machine, the entire Titan was his time machine. Cole alerted everyone to evacuate as Titan was about to be transported. At that point, someone helped Jose deal with the masked men, using the whereabouts of the witness as leverage to convince Jose to follow him. After the group exited Titan, Cole realized Jose hadn't made it out. He rushed back in to find him, and Rayleigh followed him. Meanwhile, Deacon, to cover Jennifer's escape, charged into a group of masked men. Surrounded and stabbed repeatedly, his fate was uncertain. After Jennifer fled, she encountered more masked men. During a chaotic gunfight, she accidentally hit a machine inside Titan, which caused her to be transported away. Just as Cole and Rayleigh were about to escape, they were blocked by the masked men. Cole was kicked out of Titan, but Rayleigh was dragged away. As Cole tried to rush back in to save her, Titan activated its time travel mode, and the entire structure was transported away, vanishing before his eyes. Jose was taken to a mysterious figure, Olivia, who had broken away from the 12 monkeys and formed her own faction. She wanted to team up with Jose again and, as a token of their reunion, promised to introduce him to his son. Jose's son had been sent to an unknown time and space where the mysterious person he encountered was Olivia. Jennifer was transported to France in 1917, landing in the middle of the battlefield during World War I. When Cole and Katerina were transported back to the bunker, they discovered Rayleigh hadn't been brought back. They detected a time signal from Titan and realized it had been transported to the future, 2163. For them, living in the future of 2044, this was even further ahead. Up until now, they had always traveled to the past, where they could consult historical records, but the future was a complete unknown. Cole, however, had made up his mind. He would travel to the future to find Rayleigh and bring her back. After Rayleigh was captured by the masked men, she was taken to a meeting hall where a group of masked figures in gray robes awaited her arrival. At the center of the hall was a person in a red robe. When he revealed his face, Rayleigh was shocked to see that he was the Jasmine Killer. She immediately made her old mistake of mistaking him for the Witness, but the Jasmine Killer corrected her, explaining that the Witness was much more special than him and far more special than both her and Cole. His attitude toward Rayleigh was surprisingly humble, and he invited her to the center. The Jasmine Killer told Rayleigh that the Witness was born outside of time, the result of a union between two time travelers. It turns out the Witness was Cole and Rayleigh's son, and Rayleigh was the mother of the Witness. Meanwhile, Cole was aboard the time machine, heading into an unknown future, and that's how the second season ends. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.